And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at the newest Dicemasters set, Uncanny X-Men Dicemasters. Now this is the second set in this series, and so if you want to know how to play Dicemasters, you'll want to look at my Avengers vs. X-Men Dicemasters video, and there I show you how to play. Here I'm just looking at the new stuff that this one provides. I will say, to begin with, that this is an excellent set. This isn't a more complicated set than the first one. This set is just as easy to jump into. I would say it's on the same level as the first one. You can play either one. And this one comes with starter packs, and in this pack you get 8 different characters, 3 cards each. You get enough to play against somebody else in this pack, lots of different dice. And then of course they have the gravity feeds here, which come with packs in them, which give you 2 dice and 2 cards for 99 cents. It's really a good deal. So we're going to take a look at all the different cards that come in the set. Interestingly enough, the artwork here in the front shows the Uncanny X-Men from the 90s. But then the artwork on the cards and much of their powers have to do with the X-Men of today. But there's more than just X-Men in here. There's quite a few characters. Let's take a look at some of the cards. So we're going to take a look at some of the cards that come in the set. I'm going to show you a lot, but I'm not going to show you all the cards because why spoil all the surprises? Just some of the things. Now, first of all, this card comes with some basic dice. We have orange, purple, pink, and brown. Now, these aren't as differentiated colors as the first one, but I'm assuming that they are 4 different colors in the first set so that you will be able to play multiplayer. So those are the basic dice. And then there's basic actions. Let me show you half of the basic actions. First we have Enrage here. Enrage lets you force an opponent's character to attack. A great thing, I like that. Sometimes they sit there with that great defensive player. No way, he has to attack. Here you can roll a character die from your used pile. If you roll that character face, you field it for free. That's pretty cool. Otherwise it goes back in your bag. Either way, it's a good result. So this transfer power die, and I think it's pretty cheap for 3. Feedback is an anti-sidekicks card, which does 1 damage to your opponent for each of his characters that's knocked out for the rest of his turn. He's blocking you with a bunch of sidekicks? No problem. Knock him out and then do damage to your opponent. Possession. Oh, this is an evil card where you basically can take control of a character that's lower than one of your characters, a level lower, or equal or level lower on the highest level of this. And essentially, you're just going to hit them with themselves. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. The Imprisoned card is my favorite new basic action card where you can capture opposing characters that have a total fielding cost of 2 or less, which means you can capture quite a bit of sidekicks because they're free. If your opponent's playing a lot of cards that are free or cheap to cost, you can capture these. Now when you attack your opponent, all those people are freed, and then also if it's canceled by another die, but still, this can really affect your opponent, sometimes at a very critical moment. So pretty cool. I like this a lot, and that's Imprisoned. All right, now let's look at some of the dice that come with this game. Here we have Kitty Pryde. And one of the things that this game, this expansion has, is many dice that have nothing on them. So like here we see a 2-cost Kitty Pryde. Here we see a 2-cost Ant-Man. That's all they are. It's just, you're just paying for the die. A 2-cost Falcon. So there's a lot of cheap dice. Here we have a 4-cost Iceman. And by the way, I think the Iceman die is one of the coolest dice in the game. Then I wanted to note that many of the characters, you'll notice here that X-23 has a 4, 5, and 6 cost, and I like that. I like the diversity because if I want to stick X-23 in my deck for any particular reason, I can pick which version of her. I might want the most powerful one, a 6, or I might want a cheaper one, 4, even though the cheap one here can't block. Then we have Bishop. And I like this one because essentially every 2 damage that's dealt to him, he does 1 damage to an opposing character, which is very thematic in line with his special abilities. Then we have Black Panther, who gets +2 attack when attacking alone. Then we have Mystique. Mystique, when she attacks, she gets the attack values and all the attacking abilities of one opposing character. I like that. There's always it's good to have a morph character in the game, and Mystique does a good job at doing that. Pyro, another sharp-looking die. He can basically do more attack than normal. When you attack, you roll all the dice in your use pile. For each energy you roll, you do a damage to your opponent. That's massively cool, especially you can kind of build a deck or a pool of dice around Pyro, put a lot of energy people in your deck, and Pyro can really do some massive damage. Mr. Sinister, who is my favorite villain of all time, when he's knocked out and a sidekick at the same time, Mr. Sinister comes back because the sidekick was really him. Then we have Marvel Girl, who is the same character as Phoenix, but because she has a different name, you could put both in the same deck. When you feel that she spins each opposing character down a level. Here's another version of Ant-Man, where you can pay a life to spin him up one level. And there's lots of different ones who, when they're blocked, they go up a level. Here you pay a life to make Ant-Man go up a level. Magic, this is one of my favorite cards in the game. When she's knocked out, you re-roll the die. And if you roll her, she comes back to the field, which makes her one of the best defensive characters in the game, especially as her highest level defense is a 7. Apocalypse, who's my second favorite villain from the Marvel Universe, and another sharp-looking die. When he's knocked out at level 2 or 3, he comes back at a level lower than that. Haha, try to kill that. Sabretooth here, at the beginning of each turn, he just automatically goes up a level. Very useful, another one of my favorite cards in the deck. Cable, his abilities are okay. When he's blocked, you deal damage to an opposing character, and he has a global ability where you can do a damage to an opposing character, and then that character must block. Not bad. His die's okay, not as sharp looking as some of the others, but he's protecting Hope. Good for you, Cable. Iceman, too cool for words. Iceman's my favorite Marvel character, probably. And I love this one here where you can pay an energy to double his attack. Now, his attack is at most 4, but still, doing an 8 attack for a guy who costs 5, very useful. Vision here, some characters, there was many characters in the first set that didn't take damage from other kinds of types of energy. Vision is another one of those who doesn't take damage from people with the sneak attack icon. Scarlet Witch, which again is one of my favorite dice, very sharp looking, and also one of my favorite ones because when she's active, you can re-roll any or all of your dice. So you get an extra re-roll when she's there. Hooray, Scarlet Witch! Wolverine does double damage to characters that block him, which means he can do 16. Is that even necessary, Wolverine? Come on, get out of here. Cerebro. Now, Cerebro is a new, powerful artifact in this game, or item die. It's the only one. The first set had Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer. Now we have Professor X's helmet of power. But some really cool ones. Here you can put them on a card, and you can search your deck at the beginning of a turn for a die from that card and roll it, which is very useful. Get the one you want. Here you can put them on someone else's card, and it costs them at least 2 energy to field that. Put it on somebody who can go out for free, and you can really hurt your opponent's strategy, or at least make them stop using a certain character. This one here goes on an X-Men's die card, and when you field a die from that card, you knock out an opposing die. Now, this is one of the cards in this set that specifically deals with X-Men, which of course is the name of the set. There are other cards that do that, like this Quicksilver one. When he's fielded or knocked out, you do 2 damage to each X-Men character. If you think your opponent's going to be playing with X-Men, you want to play Quicksilver. I should mention that many of the characters in this deck will have different affiliations depending on which one you use. Like, for example, White Queen sometimes is she's once an X-Man, but she's also a villain on other cards, depending on which one you use. Scarlet Witch here does 1 damage to each opposing X-Men for each other villain that you have in the field. The Sentinel here gets an extra attack and defense for each X-Men character that's in the field. Sentinel's a cool, nasty bad guy. Their die's a little hard to read, but does look good. Here's another Sentinel. You can force an X-Men character to block when you attack with a Sentinel. Then here's Emma Frost, I was just talking about here. Here's one of her villain cards. You'll note her die is exceptionally neat. It's clear with the blueprinting, but it is a little hard to read. But again, if they have no villains, you can prevent all damage to Emma Frost. Captain America, when you put him out, you can get rid of a villain. So there's cards both for and against villains. Here's a Juggernaut. If your opponent has no villains in the field, you can basically get rid of one of your sidekicks to do a damage. I guess you're throwing your sidekicks at them? I like that. Iron Man. Cancel all damage that the villains deal to Iron Man. Also, you can double his attack when he's engaged with a villain. Iron Man is anti-villain, even though in the Civil War, I'm pretty sure he was a villain. I don't like you, Iron Man. Here he takes 1 less damage from villains. Here, if you have no villains in the field, you can prevent all damage to Apocalypse. Another Sentinel. This one is really cool. It costs 7. If your opponent has no villains, you knock out all the opponent X-Men. So, of course, the problem with these cards is they're very specific. So you have to hope they have no villains and hope they have X-Men. But if they do, this is a great card. Magneto. If your opponent has no villains in the field, he takes 2 damage. This is one of the most powerful cards in the game, I think, if you play against someone with no villains. Then we have another Magneto. If your opponent has no villains, Magneto's +3/+3. Another Mr. Sinister. Whenever a villain's knocked out, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So you can see that there's a lot of cards that deal with villains. Mystique, I like her. A +1 attack and defense for each other villain in the field. She's only a 1/1, but that can really boost her stats. Not only villains, but in this game, sidekicks. There was a few cards in the first set that dealt with sidekicks. There was a Captain America card, there was a Green Goblin card, a Professor X card, I think that dealt with sidekicks. There are many in this game that are both for using sidekicks and against. Here's a Professor X one where your sidekicks get +1 attack and +1 defense. Here's another Professor X where you can look for 2 sidekick dice in your bag and put them out and roll them. Namor, if he's the only one character, you can put 2 sidekicks. People join him. I guess they're Atlanteans coming to follow him, your sidekicks. Psylocke, you can look at an opposing sidekick or character that's 2 or less and just knock it out or spin it down a level, which, again, knocks it out. Falcon, when he attacks, your sidekicks can't be blocked. By the way, there's the Namor and the Psylocke dice. I forgot to show them. They're cool. All right, Quicksilver. He does 1 damage to every opposing sidekick when you throw him out. You have an opponent with a lot of sidekicks. He comes out, boom, 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 boom. They're all gone. Thanks, Quicksilver. Just like the movie. Juggernaut can basically get rid of a sidekick to give him +4 attack and +4 defense. I have no idea what he's doing with the sidekick. Angel, when you put him out, he brings a sidekick with him. He's carrying him in his wings. Angel, you're such a hero. Here's another Angel. Your sidekicks get +1 attack and +1 defense. You can see that if you put Angel and Green Goblin and Professor X, wow, you can do a lot with sidekicks. Cyclops. This is who I call Evil Jerky Cyclops because no one likes you ever since you killed your mentor. Oh, was that a spoiler? Anyhow, he does 1 damage to your opponent and each opposing character, which can take out all the sidekicks. So I guess we kind of like you, Cyclops. Red Hulk, who's one of my favorite characters from the game, or from the Marvel Universe. I like him because when your opponent has a sidekick knocked out, they lose a life. And again, this is a great thing to use against an opponent who uses a lot of sidekicks. Then we have Kitty Pryde, who simply can't be blocked by sidekicks. Or Toad, another sharp-looking die. And this Toad apparently doesn't get struck by lightning as much. But when he's active, each opponent seeing non-sidekick character has to attack. And another Professor X, but this Professor X has Heroic. Now the reason I'm showing these Heroic, this is a new concept in the deck, and a Heroic basically means when you feel that you can pair them up with a different Heroic character, for 1 turn both these characters will have these Heroic abilities. So here we have Professor X. Let's say he comes out and you pair him up with Heroic Cyclops, which I know it's hard to imagine Cyclops as heroic, but just pretend. And I can't even imagine him pairing up with Professor X because they argue every comic. But when he's paired up, you gain a life whenever he and his partner attack. So they attack, you get a life. When Cyclops paired up, he and his partner each deal 1 damage to the opponent when assigned to attack. So here you're doing damage, 2 damage, and you're getting 2 life back when you pair these 2 up together. Let's pair up some more people. Here we pair up Sabretooth with the new Spider-Man. When fielded, when he's paired up, when they're knocked out, you can each do its attack to a energy or a whatever the glasses means character. When he's paired up, he and his partner go to level 3 at the end of your turn. Wow, what a great pairing. Sabretooth and Spider-Man. Here's Captain America and She-Hulk. Here, she gets 2 life each time either she or her partner is blocked. And here, they both get +4 attack and +4 defense. Are you kidding me? Captain America, we love you. Oh, by the way, look at She-Hulk's eye. It's pretty cool. Storm, here, can team up with Marvel Girl. They can't be targeted by action dice. Here, when they both attack, you can spin down 1 non-heroic character and gain a life. Wow, what a great combo. Here we have Angel comboing with Red Hulk. They both get +3 attack. And I can pay a shield and give them both +2 defense. That would make him an 11-10 and him a 6-6. Ho, ho, ho. Is Angel carrying him? Wolverine here is pairing up with, not Wolverine, you can't pair up with yourself. Iron Man, prevent 2 damage, and you can only be blocked by 2 or more characters. And then another heroic Wolverine where you can prevent all damage from a strength or a shield character. So those are some of the cards. There's still quite a few cards I haven't showed you, but this should give you an idea of what's in the set. Now you may have noticed that some of the dice and characters in this set are the same as some of the characters in the first set. And they've actually used different colored dice for those characters. Here you can see Angel, Mystique, Iron Man, Wolverine, Storm, Magneto, Captain America, Spider-Man, and Professor X. The cards from the first set, the dice from the first set are on top, the dice from the second set are on the bottom. Now according to the rules, you can't use characters with the same name. So you can't use a Captain America from the last set and a Captain America from the new set together. I'm not sure why they changed the colors of the new dice. Sometimes it was for better. I think the new Iron Man die looks really cool, for example. The new Storm die is sharp, the new Captain America. Other times it's for the worst. The new Magneto is hard to read. Well, it's not like the first one's easy to read. The new Angel looks better. The new Spider-Man, I like the first Spider-Man better, the black on red. Maybe it was, I don't know, for collectability purposes, who knows. But it is there, and so there's that. I guess you could use dice from the other color when you're playing against someone, probably not an official tournament. But anyhow, I don't mind that there's more cards for each character, though. That's pretty cool. I'm glad there's a lot of cards for each character. There's now like 7 different Spider-Mans that I can pick from and 7 different Captain Americas. Gives you a lot of options if you want to use Captain America as a character, how you'll fit him into your set. Wow! Woo! Yes! Okay. Iceman is in the game. Very pleased with that, and Kitty Pryde. Those are 2 of my favorite characters. I also am glad that they added a lot more villains, so I can play the whole villain deck now. You could do it with the original one, but the fact that you can mix them together, now I can mix and have, Mystique and Toad and just different characters from the game put together. I really enjoy that, mixing them up. The heroic new keyword is really cool. And I think there was 12 or 13 different heroic cards. That's great, but I hope that future sets also have this heroic keyword because I like to see lots of different combinations. And I don't like when a set of these collectible games or living games introduces something and then you never hear about it again, which then kind of dilutes how useful it is. Like in Magic the Gathering, you have flying, but flying is still around. But they did introduce some stuff that showed up in a few sets that wasn't very interesting because it doesn't show up in all the sets. Here, I'm hoping this heroic pass on because it's a cool concept. 2 guys teaming up together because comics is all about the team up. 2 people working together. Spider-Man and Iron Man, go! No, not Iron Man. Spider-Man and Captain America, go! Yeah. I also like the emphasis this deck puts on villains, which is cool because the villains is something that's thematic. It's fun to play a team of villains. This set is easy to put stuff together. It mixes well with the old stuff. The basic action cards now, that there's 10 in each set, there's 20 different basic action cards to pick from, so you'll never play probably with the same 4 twice. Lots of these characters have really cool powers. One of the most powerful decks or batches of dice or whatever you call it, teams from the original set was a sidekick deck with Green Goblin, Captain America. That can be made even more powerful with this set, but now has some very natural counters. Don't be counting on those sidekicks. So I'm sure that someone will still min-max this and find the best possible deck. But as for me and the way I play, to have all these cards to go through and look at and mix, I pick cards based on their character. So I look at the character, then I look at the 3 cards for that character and pick one of those cards. Very enjoyable. Marvel Dicemasters, folks, is a game that I love. When I'm playing it, I'm just so excited to be playing it. It is a fantastic game, and it is one of my favorite games of all time. In fact, right now I'm currently doing my top 100 games of all time, and it's fairly high up on the list. You'll have to wait and see where it lands, but it is an exceptional game. I will play it all the time. I'm so glad to get it. It's just a great game, and I just can keep gushing. And this just provides me with so many more options. I'm so excited that they're coming out with so many more sets, DC and D&D and more next year, Ultron and stuff. Oh, but if they came out with nothing else, if there was just the Uncanny X-Men in this, I would be extremely pleased. Also, incidentally, this game is coming out a week or so after I do this review, maybe 2 weeks after this review will be hitting the stores, and so get it. The first one sold out like crazy. Get this one. The first one should be back in print soon. Get them both, mix them together, have a blast. One of the best two-player games ever designed. A very fitting tribute to the Marvel Universe, Marvel Dicemasters. This set is just icing on the cake.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.